Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 85 of the Dads and Ed podcast. Tonight is bulletin board chat. Just kidding. We're not going to talk about bulletin boards unless Jamie really wants to.
That's true.
My name is Josh Allen, Tech Integration Specialist for Lewis Central Schools. I didn't tell you this, Devin. I forgot to tell my wife that we were having Dads and Ed tonight. So I put the fourth kid down at about 10 minutes ago.
Wow.
And I'm not convinced that the rest of them are sleeping yet. So I will not promise this will be an interruption-free event. Like, as my wife was leaving, she went to go get a haircut, which great, whatever. Yeah. She goes, "Oh, I'm going to do some shopping afterwards." It didn't even dawn on me. She's like pulling out of the driveway. And I'm like, you know what? I didn't tell her we had Dads and Ed tonight.
Right. You know, the fact that she doesn't have that on the calendar is a little disappointing.
You would think she would know every other week. Oh, man. Anyway, 4 wonderful kids, some of which may be sleeping, some maybe not. One beautiful wife who's out shopping for some spring clothes, and excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm Devin Shoney, Instructional Technology Program Lead for Council Bluffs Schools in Council Bluffs, Iowa. And Grace and Claire, my two, are not asleep. I can guarantee you that. I can see one of them sitting right out there doing some homework. And my wife, Erin, who I just have to say, just kicking my butt. She's been working out like crazy lately. And one of my assistant basketball coaches who runs our strength and conditioning for our team has a few people now that he kind of leads them through workouts too. And Erin has been doing that and just absolutely kicking butt doing that. So pretty proud of her, because you would think it would motivate me to want to do something, but it hasn't yet. So
yeah, I bought new running shoes this year because my other ones kind of got a hole in them, and happy to say my new ones still do not have a hole in them. We're good.
The only way they're getting a hole in them, though, is like if a mouse is in your closet, right?
Exactly. I am coaching T-ball now.
That's right.
It is T-ball season. I have been wearing them for T-ball, so they're just dirty. Really is. It's really the only thing going on with them right now. So, if you want to talk to us about your workout goals, feel free to tweet the show at Dads and Ed. You can use the hashtag Dads and Ed at any time. Good friend of the show, who I'm not going to name, I'll tell you after the show, always joked, you know how they have like the 13.1 for running a half marathon. He wanted to put donuts after that and then just put that on the back of his car.
I could do that. I could put down 13.1 donuts.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm confident.
If you missed part of the show, and why would you with talk like this, check out our website, Dads and Ed. You can subscribe in iTunes or Google Play. So this wonderful banter is delivered right to your podcast player of choice. Just do a search for Dads and Ed, or check out the Education Podcast Network at edupodcastnetwork.com. Links to subscribe to us and other fantastic podcasts there.
Yes.
So I do have to clear something up, because there was a little bit of confusion last week. I did not get drafted by the Buffalo Bills, number 7 overall.
Yeah.
So good friend of the show, Eric Langhorst, who we need to have on. He's a good one. Eric, we're going to book you for next fall.
Right.
He sent me a message one day and said, "Are people following you on Twitter?" And I was like, "No, not really." And literally 2 days before the draft, I got at least a half dozen people who were blatantly Bills fans. Leading up to it, when it kind of came out that that might be a landing spot for him. Yeah. And it was just funny. I finally put out a tweet last week. It must have been Friday. Just, hey, I'm not that guy. If you want to follow me, great. I'm not opposed to new followers on Twitter.
Right.
But let's just be clear about what you're going to get. And that was the other thing he asked me about. There was some controversy leading up to the draft about some inappropriate tweets he had sent out, and that was the other thing Eric asked. Are you getting backlash from that? And thankfully, no. I get backlash for plenty of other things. So we were talking about donuts. One of my buddies asked if I could beat the other Josh Allen in a 40, and I said maybe if there was donuts at the end, but otherwise
It really was, I think it would be cool. It'd be fun if there was a Devin Schoening getting drafted, and I could play off of that and have some fun with it. And I know we had a number of conversations about some fun things you could do with that, especially on draft nights. And I think it'd be cool. It would be it was kind of a fun thing to have that. I know there was a little bit of banter on Twitter that night as people were following your draft status.
As I was sitting there not getting a phone call.
Yes.
Someone asked how my night was going when I didn't get picked #1 overall. So I tweeted a picture of my son and I not happy on the couch, understanding why we were falling. But yeah, anyway, that's lots of fun.
Yeah.
Before we get into our real water cooler for the night, Bill Little checking in. Bill, thanks for being here as always. You are as reliable as our internet now is after 5 years. So thanks for being around. We had a fabulous question posed by former guest William Chamberlain in a Voxer group that we're in that we thought we'd bring out here. Sports just continue to grow and grow. Expansion has happened. NHL just expanded to Las Vegas this year.
Right.
There's always been some talk, especially with baseball and basketball, just about the length of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's always talk about you can't get any smaller. Like, money's out there. You're already paying these guys all this money. Owners are making money. No one's going to get smaller. So William, being the big thinker that he always is, posed the question, if baseball was to divide in half, go from 30 to 16 teams, which would benefit more from that, pitching or offense? I would tend to think that it would be pitching, because I think that offense really comes out with bad pitching. Not to say that some of those guys can't hit, the guys that are really good, but I think if you could make the pitching part more competitive, and get rid of some bad relievers, I think pitching would benefit from a reduction in teams. Devin?
Yeah, I think that's solid logic, right? If you halved the teams, you would essentially have 1 and 2 starters everywhere. So if you took you'd have #1s and #2s almost everywhere, and then your 5th, obviously getting into the 3s. But I wonder, though, if pitching is watered down. So the best hitters, if you take all of those and make lineups with just the best hitters, I'm going to say hitting would be better, right? I'm going to say that if I could put together a lineup and and create lineups where it's the best hitters from every team, and we have them, that's still better than better than the pitchers, even because I think it's a little bit watered down now. I think we get into 3, 4, and 5 starters a lot of times, and there aren't great ones. So I think it would be tough. You'd have a lot of great pitching, but I think the hitters would get the best of that.
I can see that. That's a good point. Yeah, I think because you could argue with 30 teams that there aren't 30 #1 pitchers out there.
Yeah, I think you could make that argument.
And I think you can definitely say there's not 30 #2s.
Solid 2s.
I think about the Marlins opening day starter, who I already dropped 2 weeks into the season because he was dragging me down, and picked up somebody else's third starter.
Well, and I just think how good some lineups are right now with the number of teams there are. So, the Yankee lineup, for instance. Right. Yep. We're up and down the lineup. You are already struggling. Even the best pitchers. I know Verlander threw a really, really nice game against them the other night, although they ended up losing, which is another great story with Giles punching himself after giving up that home run. But I think about lineups that are already unbelievable. And if you would have the teams and make, so almost all of your lineups would be like that, it seems like it would put, even if your pitching talent is great, it puts a lot of strain on pitchers night after night, I think, to go after lineups that would seem to be at least unbelievable, having half the teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you think about, essentially you're creating an all-star game almost every night if you're doing 8 on 8.
Yeah.
And I would say kind of, it depends on the year. Some years are 13 to 12, some are 3 to 2.
Well, and see, I guess that's my point about the lineups and the pitcher. So as good as, let's take, I don't know, Chris Sale, for the Red Sox, as good as he is, if you knew that every fifth night you are going to go after a lineup that is as good as the best lineup in baseball right now, probably puts a lot of strain and wear and tear on a pitcher. Right now, that every, some nights you're going to get the Reds. Like, some nights you're going to get the Royals. As much as I like the Royals, they're bad right now. Like, you're going to get the Royals sometimes with a lineup that isn't anywhere near where, say, the Yankees are. But if every lineup was closer to what the Yankees is, that seems like it would, the strain that would be put on pitchers, I think would ultimately make that a really tough thing for pitching to be better.
Yeah, absolutely. Answer to a question that we'll never know, because there's no way that Major League Baseball will ever give up half their teams. They just simply move them around at this point. They'll never give up the number of teams. So.
And honestly, can't blame them. In terms of the health of a game. I did say, I know we talked last time about whether or not there should be fewer games, and somebody, who was it, Rizzo maybe from the Cubs, that said it'd be all for playing less games. Or maybe it was one of those guys. I saw Joey Votto yesterday from the Reds, a couple days ago, talking about let's play more games. I'm all for, let's play more games. I'll get paid more. I get to play baseball more. Let's play more games for more money.
Yeah,
he's kind of a clown too. But
I actually could see, the NBA has lengthened their season. I could actually see them being one that did shorten the number of games. Yeah. I don't know if they go back. I think it was 70 at one time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it might have been less.
Something like that.
I'd say fewer.
It wouldn't. That's the only one that I could really see going down. I don't see, baseball is too stuck in its past to not stick with the random number of 162.
Right, and baseball is so tied to statistics that it makes that awfully hard. With the way that numbers are kind of cherished in baseball, to change number of games and make those numbers kind of null would not be good for them, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. All right, moving on to other questions that we can solve. Dad moment of the week. I do have to say, the dad moment of the week probably just happened. So, as I said, hanging out with the 4 kids tonight, putting them to sleep. Our youngest is 19 months, something like that. Or no, probably more than that now. I don't know, whatever, 19, 20. I am learning to cherish rocking her to sleep, knowing it's baby number last. This time's going away very quickly. The rest of them, I'm lucky that they still want to hang out with me for the most part. So, as frustrating as it gets, and as much as I was looking at the clock and trying to keep my rhythm so that, she kept going to sleep, I didn't want to move, awkwardly to jostle her up or anything. It's kind of hit me, a little while. This is going to end here pretty soon, and then we're just going to be done hopefully for a while, until we have grandbabies, which again should be a while.
Yes.
But anyway, so just trying to cherish those moments a little bit.
I would say mine kind of goes along with that same theme of where does time go. I know that, again, pretty recent, but today, Grace took her visit school. They went and visited the high school to get ready for next year. And it really is kind of that deal of where does time go, that, I have a daughter who is, scheduling and touring her high school to start next year. And so it really isn't, and I probably said this here, I'm sure I have, but, I know the one thing that I really take to heart now, I remember when I was younger and people would, talk about having kids, and people would always say, oh, cherish it. The moment goes, time goes so fast. And I remember always saying or thinking, whatever, time is time. It doesn't speed up, time doesn't speed up or slow down. It's just time. But, as I prepare to get a kid now driving and going to high school, it certainly does feel like time has gone pretty darn fast from doing exactly what you just talked about. And as when was the last time I got to rock her and put her to bed that way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a long time ago now, but it seems like it was just a few days ago that I was able to do that. So yeah, I certainly have to cherish those times. It's crazy how fast it goes.
Yeah, it's even, sometimes I look at we do an end of the year celebration with staff that have been here, at Lewis Central for 5, 10, 15, and the retirees, and every 5 years or whatever. And it's crazy that next year I will be on that list.
Yeah.
I mean, after next year, that will be the second longest job position I've ever held, assuming I don't get fired before then, which we're not going to make any guarantees about that. But
no kidding.
You never know. So, oh well. Yep. Everything goes quick. Speaking of quick, ladies and gentlemen, Jamie Gilchrist.
Right on time.
Here, Tech Integration Specialist for Southeast Polk in the Des Moines area. Jamie's appearance is brought to you today by Iowa State University. Like the tailgate, so do we. Apply online now at iastate.edu. Jamie, welcome to the show.
Hello, hello. How are you guys?
Good.
Doing well.
Good.
Doing well.
So, first question. So, Devin and I were talking. He said that you had an appointment earlier tonight.
I did.
So, I also heard that he knew that like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I didn't know, and this will be a hint as to how many tattoos I have, but I didn't know you actually scheduled them that far in advance.
Yeah, usually if you're going to go to somebody reputable, you try to schedule that.
That's the caveat.
Well, that also not only shows how many I have, but the type of people I hang out with that do have tattoos, which is a large number of my family. Anyway, what'd you get? Are we allowed to know what you got?
You are allowed to know what I got. I got a mandala on my ankle.
What's a mandala?
Okay. Thanks, Josh.
It is a circle. They're prevalent in and somebody can correct me on this, in Eastern cultures. A lot of times, you'll see Buddhist monks make them out of sand with the little rakes. And then, so they're very intricate circular designs, somewhat floral, sometimes in patterns, lines, dots, pretty simplistic. There's a lot of different meanings that people would bring up behind them, but they're pretty. It's something that I've been talking about for a while. So yeah, I did ask Devin what time this was because I had to work around that. Very important.
Yeah. So that was good. I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad the appointment was early enough and that you're able to do it. So just to get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. And whatever you guys, I forget, let me know. So my name is Jamie Gilchrist, formerly known as Jamie Fath, formerly known as Jamie Gilchrist. A lot of switching going on right now. I am, like Josh said, in Altoona. I work for Southeast Polk Schools. I've been here for, this is finishing my 7th year with the district. This year, my title is Technology Integration Coordinator. I'm lucky enough that I get to work on our curriculum team, but also kind of span the bridge between the curriculum and the technology side. So I love my job. On the home front, I've got 2 wonderful little girls, who will be 2 tomorrow. And then my oldest is 7. Audra and Jovi are my little ones. So, and then a dog, if you hear her barking at the thunder. Minnie's locked upstairs. So, yeah.
We're going to come back to the girls. We want to start with the job. What's new in Southeast Polk? We always kind of like to know, what are some things you guys are really excited about? If you've followed Twitter, you see that we just got a 3D printer in our elementary. So that's the new cool thing that we're trying to figure out how we actually let kids do it instead of just Josh playing with it. So what are you guys working on there?
Sometimes tricky. We are moving into our first official 1-to-1 next year. So we've been kind of loosely one-to-one in our elementary schools for the past 3 school years. But next year, officially, we will go 7-12, which is about 3,500 devices, 3,400 devices. So working on just getting everything, all the groundwork laid for that with teachers and staff and parents. Looking at learning management systems. And we just finally, we might be a little bit slow on this, started dabbling in expeditions. That's been my week this week, is running around with our kits and showing teachers how those work, and just kind of loving watching how they are using those in the classroom. Way better than I do. I think they're cool, but when they know all the content behind them, they are even better. So
yeah, and you know, the nice thing is we've I've been lucky enough. We've had a lot of conversations over the last few years, and not only your role at Southeast Polk, but being on the iTech board and seeing what's happening in other places. What's something that you know, you get frustrated by in this field? So whether it's something in your district or you see around, because you know, we've talked a lot. I get frustrated about a lot of things. What are the things that kind of frustrate you with this work?
I shouldn't say it's day to day, but it is day to day. I just had my summative evaluation, my yearly eval, or however often you have to have them, every 3, this week. And I told my boss, one of the things that I've been frustrated with is because we haven't had access, because we haven't been one-to-one, it's been hard to go any further for the last couple of years, because you're fighting to get a cart into a classroom. And we might schedule a cart of Chromebooks out for 6 months. So that's been a giant pain. So it is something I'm frustrated with, but something I'm looking forward to next year. You get frustrated by teachers just getting, like, not frustrated, excited about the new thing. Like, and I just want to do it because it's new, but why? Like, where's the content behind it? What's the purpose? We can expose kids to cool things, but let's put some learning behind it as well.
Right. So around that, like a follow-up. So as you're going one-to-one, what kind of things have you guys done at Southeast Polk to prepare, you know, not only teachers, but administrators and parents for that? Because I know that's one thing we probably struggle with a little bit, was we did some of that stuff maybe a little bit backwards as we were kind of, you know, starting that, I don't know, whatever, 5, 6, 7 years ago now. I think there were things that we would do differently. What kinds of things have you guys done to get people ready for that?
We're not doing it perfectly either. Yep. Our secondary staff has gone through Google Educator training, level 1. Some of them are going through level 2, which we did not because we believe that we needed to, like, nail that content home over and over again, but because we wanted to be able to next year have conversations with all staff and have accountability that everybody has had this learning. We've all done this as a team. We've all been certified. We can all move forward. So that's kind of the biggest thing we did with our staff and our administrators, is going through that. The other thing that we have started, so I'm lucky enough to work with 3 secondary coaches that I meet with monthly, if not more often, but formally we meet monthly. And we have an instructional playbook at Southeast Polk, and it's got kind of our big ideas, and it comes out of a lot of nights work and a lot of instructional coaching work that we've done over the past 3-4 years. And we've been taking tools as we see them utilized in the classroom and linking them to that instructional playbook. So if you're working on student engagement strategies, or you're working on students telling stories in your classroom, here's a tool for that. And just kind of giving teachers a little bit of scaffolding to take it and run, hopefully, but also provide some examples and some resources on how to move forward. So
yeah, that's a great point. I think one of the things that has been most successful for us in the last 5 years is exactly that, is figuring out what your district's instructional Bible is, whether that be, you know, your curriculum guides, or, like you said, your instructional coaching stuff, and putting it in there. Yep. And having that expectation. And, you know, we were in the same boat in our elementary when I got to Lewis Central, you know, well, I'd love to do this, you know, but we don't have access, or I don't have a CDL to drive the HP laptop cart down the hallway. And, you know, now that stuff's gone, I mean, it's amazing. Now it's like, okay, now what's your excuse? Right. It's in your UBD. Every one of your kids has a Chromebook. now what do you want to do? Now why is it not gonna work?
Well, and we worked for a number of years to put technology specific resources into our units. And hey, English 1, I'm just making this up. English 1, Unit 3, here are these 3 tools and here's how you can use them. But that wasn't being utilized. And part of that was because we were updating those, but teachers were getting comfortable with the unit. So they weren't always referring back to those docs. So we're hoping that linking it to the broader, here's our instructional playbook, that'll kind of help us spread that a little bit further.
Yeah, and see, I think one of the things that we found is we started placing some of the work that we did is we created these kind of like experiences that we thought all kids should have. We've I should probably say I've tried to focus us more on less on any tool. There are very few tools that we share, and more on these experiences. And once they know the experiences, here are some tools to do that. So it's essentially the same idea. But we embedded them in what we would have in our curriculum documents and our maps, which is very similar to what you guys are talking about. But there was no accountability there. So the question I would have too is this, like, for us, it gets tough when, and accountability is the wrong word, but when our administrators, when things don't get recognized that you're doing it, or when it's just not like, oh, that's just the way we do this now. So do you guys have a pretty good group of like our administrators on board with this and like understand, do you think they're going to be pushing for it in a positive way that will make it move forward? Because I know sometimes ours don't.
Ideally, I hope so.
Yeah.
The team I work with, we try to do a good job of, what is the temperature gauge on our leadership team?
Yeah.
So Devin and I have had a lot of conversations about learning management systems, and there's pros and cons to any system like that. But our teachers are ready to make a recommendation on what they want next year. And we just met with the principals a few weeks ago and said, we're not going to move forward with this if this isn't something you're going to support at the building level.
Yeah, right.
I'm here to do whatever I can and run around and help. But if this isn't something that you're on board for, then it's not something that I can fight for either. So we've had to have some of those conversations, and sometimes no, this isn't something we want. Okay, what is something you want, and how can we make that happen? Does it fit the needs of our district and our students?
Mm-hmm.
And how can we work together? So yeah, I would say we have a pretty good team overall.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is just those really frank conversations. So
before I jump into a question about iTech, the first family of Dads and Ed is checking in. Lynn Kleinmeyer, likely on the couch next to her husband, Nathan. Intentionality is essential in successful integration, matching purpose and practice with the tool. Notice what came first. I just want to point out that Lynn started as a librarian in my district before she went to Grantwood.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm a little bit of osmosis.
I think she was actually in your district before you were there, and you were out. Is what I heard, maybe.
Nope, same year.
Probably closer. Yeah.
No, same year.
Uh-huh.
I got out of the way. So you mentioned, or maybe you didn't, but it's on your Twitter bio about being on the iTech board.
Yeah.
You talk about your district moving 1-to-1 and the things that are needed for any district to be successful and that kind of stuff. So talk a little bit about your time on the iTech board, the conferences and activities that you guys promote that kind of help those districts that want to really make that 1-to-1 valuable instead of just something they can say that they do.
So I am lucky enough to work with the iTech board, and we, along with Devin does all the work. We have 2 main conferences over the course of the year. We have a fall conference, which is our big event. And then we have a spring conference that is aimed more towards technology administrators, tech directors, systems admin, and those folks. And then we also do maybe our favorite, but also a lot of work, and we're moving into tech fair season. We do 2 tech fairs where we get to see student products and see what they're up to, and have students just kind of show us what's coming out of the classrooms. But why I love iTech is because, and and I've sent teachers to the conferences for several years too. It's just a great way to network and to hear about what other people are doing, and to maybe I have been using slides to do something in my classroom, but I never thought of using it in that one way. I never thought about magnetic poetry. Or something to that effect. So I think just giving teachers the opportunity to see either like content areas, totally different content areas, but giving them that chance to look and to see what other people are doing and what other students are capable of, always blows us away. So you learn a lot more out of your own pool than you do always hanging out where you live. So that's part of the reason I love iTech. I also get to work with the One-to-One Institute, which separate group, but very similar mission and vision, and to just support districts as they support kids using tools that are appropriate in their classrooms. So.
Yeah, and I'd add two things to that with Jamie being on the board. One thing that I love is that, and I'm not sure every board is able to say this, but the entire group of people is just a great group, and they're all great to work with. You know, there are no egos, and there's nobody with an agenda, and it's just a great group of people to work with. And certainly, as I came on, and Jamie was already there, it was great having people that have become great friends too. So, and then the second thing is Jamie mentioned tech fairs. One of the things that I've been able to do with the conference last couple of years is kind of organize those kids who earn purple ribbons at our tech fairs to come to our conference. And it's the best part of both days, I think, in my opinion. There's very little that's better at iTech, at the conference, the fall conference, than those kids having an opportunity to show their projects and talk to people. It's really my favorite thing, and we've been trying to find a way for a few years to get that to be an even bigger part of the conference, but it's hard to figure out what the right way to do that is. And so I would really say that part of it is is maybe my favorite part of the conference too.
Yeah. Anytime you get to work with students, I mean, I can do all the PD I want, but getting into a 7th grade science classroom is going to get me going for the next week.
Right. And it's hard to figure out what that right balance of kids at those conferences are. And I remember when we did Ignite sessions or Ignite talks as part of the keynote session a couple of years ago. One was done by a high school kid, and it was amazing. It was great to just hear a high school kid talk about what he was passionate about and what he was doing in school. And we probably don't do that enough. We're I'm thinking about that right now. It's just some work we're doing in one of our schools with creating this learning commons space. I kind of finally said the other day, is like, guys, we need more kids involved in this. Like, why are we planning all this? I'm sure there are kids. And so lo and behold, we started looking for some kids, and a girl came in today that might kind of help us with part of it. And she was just geeking out already about she's like, oh, my interior design part is just going crazy. Like, how are we going to design this space, and what are we going to do? And I think we don't allow that to happen nearly enough in our schools, is to give kids, real opportunities to have a say in how things go.
Oh, I agree.
Well, Jamie, you mentioned the change in social media profiles that you've had over the last year or so. Yeah. Talk a little bit about as you have transitioned to being a single mom. How is that? I don't know if this is the way I really like the question. How's your relationship changed with the girls? And probably Audra more than Jovi, but talk a little bit about how that's changed, or even just your perspective on parenting since you've done that.
Since I've parented.
Since you parented.
Occasionally. A lot of changes for us and for my girls especially, and they've rolled with the punches fabulously, which is wonderful, and makes it a lot easier. But I would say kind of becoming a single parent makes you value the time that you have with them more. And I don't mean like put on a show.
Mm-hmm.
When we're here, it's real life and laundry and homework and all of that. But it's hey, this is the time I get. So in our situation, I get most nights, but I don't have them a couple of school nights a week. But just you're here tonight, so let's enjoy this time. Let's not argue over the stupid stuff. Let's just, because she's getting to that age now where she has her opinions, and they both do. Let's just, why is this important to you, or why is this important to me? It's made us closer because, there are times that I have to explain and talk to them about things that, I want you to do this because this is the reason. So it's been, not necessarily ideal. I don't think anybody would ever say that, right? Mm-hmm. But for us, it's been a good transition, and it's been a transition, but I think we're doing okay. So.
And I'm sure, and it kind of, I think that parlays into the one question that we really try to ask everybody. I mean, this, we've talked about this, why we even do this podcast, aside from us just kind of liking to get together and chat. We were always kind of interested in this intersection of parenting and being an educator. Mm-hmm. And so, and maybe this has changed recently for you in terms of how this intersection happens, but, how do you think each is going to impact the other? How does being a parent, how does it impact you as being an educator and in education, and vice versa? How has being in education for the years that you have impacted the way that you parent?
I think I worry less and just trust the process. And try not to stress about the little things that are happening. Like Audra's in first grade this mm-hmm. year. And I would say one of the biggest changes and transitions that we've gone through as a family is we moved to the school district that I've worked in. Mm-hmm. And that's a little bit of a game changer for you work-wise too, because now the work that you do directly impacts your offspring. And not only does it impact them, they come home and they tell you about the things that you're doing. Mm-hmm. Or their teacher is going to a conference with you and what are you guys going to learn together, Mom? So, that's been a little bit of a gut check for me too. What do I want Audra and at some point Joby to be doing in their classrooms? It makes it a little bit realer. I think sometimes when you're making decisions, we have a really student-focused team, which mm-hmm. I think I'm really lucky to be part of. And every once in a while we get to put faces, and sometimes those faces are my kids. So mm-hmm. it makes it real. But it makes it enjoyable too.
So we at some point, I'm sure you'll have this, but we in our parenting sessions at conferences, we ask this question a lot. But that whole working in the same district where your kids go to school becomes really, really interesting. It's great when it's going well, mm-hmm. And it can become kind of weird and uncomfortable when maybe it's not going well, and you have to, especially in a position like you're in, and I know that Josh and I are in, where you're in all of these different buildings and all these people and you work with them in this kind of weird pseudo coaching colleague role. Mm-hmm. It becomes really interesting when things aren't going the way that you would want them to go in a classroom.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the don't sweat it. Because a teacher manages her classroom differently than I do, or I would. I trust that teacher, and I trust that teacher, if I trust her to do other things curriculum related, I should probably trust her with my child. That just seems like a good practice to follow. Right. So yeah, and it'll continue to change and grow, I'm sure. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting conversation about, and like Devin said, we talk about this when we do our parenting session, but living in the district that you teach. Like, I would say that the one thing that I don't like about my job is we don't live in the district. I really wish we could. There's a number of reasons why we haven't moved. The first being we love our neighbors. But I was talking to a coworker the other day, and they were getting ready to move, and I said, well, are you going to move over here to our school district? And she said, absolutely not. She goes, I don't want anything. She goes, I don't want to live in the same district. I want to be out of there. I want my kids to have a different life than mine. And, to be honest, well, when we moved to Papillion, I was working in Papillion. I mean, we moved, for that reason. Was that I mean, obviously you were going to move anyway, but did you only look in the school district, or did you happen to find a house in the school district?
I only looked in the school district. And to an extent, I limited it to not the best schools in our district. I think we have great schools. I don't want to send that message, but the schools where I already knew that I and my kids had a support system.
Yeah.
Because Audra is one that is academically talented at this point. And I wasn't worried about that. I was worried about her socio emotional status and somebody making sure that she got loved on and got a high five in the hallway. So I wanted that. And so, yeah, I only looked, she was in a great elementary school. But I only looked in our district when we moved. And part of that was commute. I mean, it takes 2 minutes instead of
Yeah, well, yeah, that is an advantage. You know, my 35-minute drive is not all that conducive to that kind of stuff.
No, but I missed that thinking time. You have the thinking time still.
I do have the thinking time. Sometimes all of a sudden it's like, where did the last 10 miles go? I have thought about so much about 3D printing that I don't know how I got to this point. Luckily, I'm on the road to go home. But anyway.
The other day he ended up in Lincoln. He had no idea how he got that far, but just the thinking about 3D printing.
You know, for a second.
Over and over.
For a second, I actually thought I did. I was like super confused. I'm like, when did I do that? Like, I didn't put it past me. I actually believed you that I did drive 45 minutes out of the way. Oh, man. Anyway, Jamie, we have a session at the end called Sharing is Caring. We're going to give you a few minutes to think of anything that you want to share. Typically, this is how this goes. I do something non-educational. Devin does something that's really smart and educational, and so you're welcome to either bridge that gap or join Devin's side or join my side if you want. I'm going to get started. Today was a big day. Go Open Summit. We are hosting our second Go Open Summit June 11th at Lewis Central. We're going to have a couple satellite locations, but finally we got our agenda squared away and posted on the website. I'm going to tweet that out. It's a free event. We'll have a group here in Council Bluffs. We'll have one in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We'll have one in Kearney, Nebraska. Possibly one out in Scottsbluff. So we are going to go like western Nebraska to eastern Iowa. Kalmar, Iowa. Keystone AEA is going to be another event. Sarah Weston from Utah, and I am drawing a blank. You can go to the website and see the actual school in Utah that she's at. Is going to be here. Sarah Tretton from the Department of Ed is going to come. CK12 is flying somebody out from California to hang out and talk about their products. The aforementioned Eric Langhorst, Liberty Public Schools, is coming up from Liberty, Missouri to share their awesomeness. So June 11th, it's a Monday. Yeah, check it out. I'll tweet that out to the Dads at Ed hashtag and put it in the show notes. So,
yeah.
And breaking news. Devin is already registered and has been for like a month, except he didn't know he registered himself.
No, I was going to bring that up. I was going to say that, say I had already done that, but I really have no idea when I did that. And I'm thinking maybe somebody did it for me because it doesn't sound like something I would do.
No, Jamie, I even told Devin, I go, I fully expected you to be there, but I did not expect you to register.
Yeah, and that's been a great thing. It's become a thing. It's part of who I am. I just kind of crash conferences and
people let you in. That's the funny part.
Right, they do. They let me in. I don't know why they do it, but yeah. So that's gonna be great. And I would also plug that it was a great event last year at Lewis Central, and I'm certainly looking forward to June 11th this year too to go and do that. So make sure and check it out. I am going to share, and this is something really recent. I think he just posted it today, either today or yesterday, but former guest on the show, Josh Stumpenhorst, nice blog post today. It's called Out of the Classroom and Out of Touch, kind of timely, and just kind of has this idea, he is not in the classroom anymore. He runs their Learning Commons Makerspace library in Naperville now at the school that he's at, the middle school, and does really great things, really cool things. But this was all about like how do you not lose touch with what's going on in classrooms and lose touch with what teachers are dealing with, and I think that's something that people really need to remember and think about. I know in my role, that's being out now for 8 years or so, trying to make sure to always think about things from that perspective, because I think you see it so much where people who have been out of the classroom for a while take for granted what teachers and kids are doing every single day. And so Josh's blog post today I thought was spot on and really, really good. So I'm going to share that to the hashtag, and I would highly encourage you to take a look at it and read it. Good stuff from Josh today.
Jamie?
I feel a little put on the spot. No, not at all.
That's why we let you go last.
But
so it's like and it's also a test to see if you've ever listened to a show before, because we do it every time.
I know you do, and I thought about like sharing my favorite restaurant in Altoona, but that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. One of the things, and this is just maybe more reflective than something new, is the power of a good storyteller in the classroom. So I keep reflecting back on science is not my jam. And the solar system, I like facts, which is great, but it can get kind of dry, and watching a teacher kind of get a new tool that lets them dive deep into the content that they are totally psyched about and are able to tell stories and to just live in. And admittedly, he said he could have talked for 3 more days to those kids. Just reminds me that, while we do all of this work to align curriculum and to look at our standards reference grading practices, really the art is in the art of teaching for kids. And that's where the magic happens for students. So I guess my sharing is just a reminder to allow ourselves and to our colleagues to have those moments, where we're passionate about something, and to talk and to tell stories. And that's how humans make meaning out of everything. So
yeah, that's a good one. That storytelling piece has been something I've really tried to dig into more and more lately, and I've been talking to even our coaches here, our instructional coaches, about telling those stories and helping teachers tell those stories. I'm glad you brought that up, because I really do think that's important. It doesn't get enough play.
No, and I totally get sucked into here's my checklist, I got to get it done, Yeah. But just taking a minute to slow down and tell the story of why you want to do what you want to do, and that is helpful.
Yeah,
so.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Wonderful. All right, well, we have come to the end of the show. Jamie, it has been absolutely fabulous having you on. Glad the tattoo went well and it got done before the show.
Yes.
So best of luck with the 1-to-1 and the upcoming tech fairs. Looking forward to catching up with you soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, we will be back in 2 weeks. Until then, make sure to follow us on Twitter, subscribe, all that other good stuff. See you in 2 weeks.